This is the Left of Center podcast with Rob Royce and Ben Knight.
Hello and welcome back to the Left of Center podcast. I am Ben Knight.
I am Rob Royce.
And you know what? If you guys have been listening to the podcast so far, this is technically episode 5, but this is actually episode 1 of being a brand new podcast.
We are rebooting this podcast.
We're doing a little bit of a reboot. We're going, hey, we started out well, but now we're going to reboot it just a little bit.
Well, when we first started the podcast, let me back up. When we first started talking about the podcast, we had all these ideas for different kinds of segments, and we wanted to do a lot of, what are you drinking?
I'm having water. I'm drinking a smart
good
water.
For you.
I'm drinking a smart water just in preparation for this being the introductory new podcast.
I should have brought a water. Okay, so what is it? Like, compared to what we were talking about originally, this sounds to me what we're going to be doing today, for those of you who are listening during the day, we're recording it at night. But it sounds a lot to me like what we originally talked about. Can you explain a little bit why we never did go in that direction?
Well, you know, we started this podcast, and we started this podcast for a couple of different reasons. One, because Rob and I like to just hang out and talk a lot, so we figured we should just record this.
Yeah.
But secondly, because, as Christians, we just feel kind of led to, reach out to our other fellow Christians and those who may not be Christians and just talk about issues that we have in our own lives.
Real issues.
Nothing
fake.
And come up with truly biblical answers. Stuff that's just straight out of the Bible, not something that we think or something that we've heard from somebody else.
Nope.
It's straight out of the Bible.
Not off BuzzFeed or...
No, nothing off of YouTube or off of any other...
Facebook.
We will have our own thoughts and opinions on things,
sure.
But those will not be gospel. In fact, we will say so, and then we will give you the real deal from the gospel.
That's right.
So, this podcast was just meant to be just something kind of goofy that we could do. And then we've actually had way more downloads than I ever thought we would get so far. And so, we were like, well, do we want to keep doing this? We started it and we're like, well, do we want to keep doing this? Are people going to...
Yeah, I think that was kind of the original idea, is that we had, we wrote all these things down like, man, we could do a segment on this and a segment on that. We're like, hold on. Like, we're talking about like hours and hours of production on every single podcast. How do we even know that we're going to want to keep doing this?
It's true. And we didn't even know if people were going to listen to it. I kind of just assumed like the very first day that it was just going to be like 3 downloads, and we're like, this is a catastrophic failure.
That is not what happened.
That is not what happened. We've had tons and tons of downloads. So it's crazy because, like Rob said, our first idea was to do almost like a morning show.
Yeah, I like morning shows.
Just like, hey, I'm Crazy Ben, and this is Ridiculous Rob, and you're listening to the Left Center podcast, and just doing kind of a, all right, how's it going there, Big Phil? Oh, I'm good. Or just whatever, your typical morning show.
I love those.
And they're great. What we realized, though, is we're not those guys.
Well, man, you'd have to, like, those guys who do the morning shows, it's like their full-time job to produce the show. Like, I know they do it from like 5 a.m. to like noon or something, but they're still working the rest of the day getting them ready, and we don't have that kind of time.
We don't have that kind of time. So we were like, well, we'll just go ahead and we'll just talk. We'll just sit down and talk.
I shouldn't say we don't have that kind of time. It's more like, why would we put that kind of time in? For one, if we hate doing this podcasting, we like to sit down and talk, but how do we know we like doing the podcast? Or what if, and for those who, if we had just 3 downloads, and not that wouldn't be worth it, because dude, there's 3 people who want to hear us, but they might be our wives and our
exactly.
But so yeah, no, if this is actually something that was going to resonate with anybody out there, then it would be worth something to produce. If people, if I don't know, if they didn't like reject it.
Exactly. And so we've been taking all your guys' feedback, the good and the bad, and and for anybody listening who gave us bad feedback, thank you. No, it's good stuff. Yeah, no, you know what? Hey, I feel you. We'll hug it out later. I understand, dude. It hurts, but it's one of those things where we needed the good and the bad, because we want to make this the best podcast that we can. Now, it may not be the greatest podcast known to man, but we're going to certainly try to make it the best we can.
We're going to make it the best we can. And we're going to try something new tonight. And, nothing's settled on. We're just going to let it evolve as for one, as we have fun with it. And two, as all of you seem to dig it or not.
So we'll kind of just, you'll notice here at the beginning, for anybody listening to this for the first time, we're going to kind of touch on a few of the things that we discussed in previous podcasts, just to kind of catch everybody up to speed on what it is that we're doing. And, just kind of hang with us as we do that. But we are still doing the weight loss challenge. Or actually, we haven't actually announced what our weights were. That's actually what this could be.
And just to back up a little bit, the very first day we were going to record a podcast, and for those of you who've been listening, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but Ben said, "Hey, dude, what if we drop pop?" And I was like,
the pop pack.
It started out with the pop pack, because it's like, yeah, you know what? Why don't we drop pop? Because we're not obese guys, but well, I guess technically we're obese according to that one book thing. The United States Government's Health and Human Services or whatever.
And according to the Nintendo Wii.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, even those guys. Okay. We're not... Okay, we'll announce our weights here in just a second, but you'll get the idea. It's like a lot of you guys might think, oh, what do you guys? You guys have no business saying that you need to lose any weight, and we get that. But nonetheless, we have these bad habits, and one of them was related to our obscene consumption of sugar beverages.
Just gallons of soda, dude. Just gallons.
I wonder if we'd have put it both together, how much it really would have been. So the first day he's like, "Hey, cold turkey, let's just quit it." And I was like, "All right."
So we are on like week what?
6, 7? I don't know.
6 or 7, something like that.
I haven't had sugar in anything to drink since then.
That has been a part of what we're doing. So I will announce right now. I can tell you with depressing authority that I weigh 213 pounds or 213.6 pounds.
That's not that bad.
It's pretty bad.
I've been higher than that.
Oof. So Rob, what are you weighing in at?
Well, I weighed in at 203.4. And that was actually a little lower than I thought. I kind of said on the podcast I thought it'd be 207, and yeah, give or take, it's about the same weight as I thought. But and like we said before in previous podcasts, there's gonna be those of you out there who are like, "Man, I'd die to get down to that weight. I'd kill to get down to that weight." And so, the weight loss challenge isn't necessarily to pit one person's fitness against another person's fitness. It's more like we acknowledge that we had some habits that were probably going to eventually lead us into a far more severe status than we're currently in, and we just wanted to stop. We did put out there on some of our social networking a Facebook page that I put together. I just simply call the 1030 Plan. You can check it out on Facebook. Did we put that on Twitter? Did I ever put it on Twitter?
If we didn't, we can put it back on Twitter.
We'll put it back on Twitter. And it's definitely on my blog, which is leftofcenterpodcast.com. And you can go find my blog, which is Prove Rob Wrong. It's just one of the two blogs. It's me and Ben. Each have a blog. And there you can find in the archive of my blogs, you can find that I put together this 1030 plan. It explains what it all is. I'm not going to explain it here. But
yeah, we want to involve you guys. Like anybody who's interested in that, definitely check it out. We want to be there to support you guys. We most certainly appreciate any support on our end. We're going to try to shed some poundage. And the worst part is it's the holiday season is very much coming upon us.
Oh gosh.
And so it's like, I need to shed some really quick pounds so that I can really enjoy some awesome
So you want to shed some pounds so you can get back to where you're at now.
Just so I can have a cheat day.
A cheat day?
Or a cheat weekend. Like for me, dude, Christmas Eve and Christmas are just like, it's pig out time. Yeah. And it's because and it's crazy too, because it's not the traditional Christmas. Now, I live about 17, 18 hours away from my family. So I go to my wife's family's for Christmas and Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, sir, I kid you not, it's a wonderful experience. Yeah. It is prime rib. Is shrimp the size of your fist.
Yeah.
And
I'm in.
I am allowed to make harvest potatoes, which I'm sure anybody listening has probably had them. They're simply, diced potatoes with tons of cheese, sour cream, other ingredients, and then you break you smash cornflakes and mix them with butter and kind of put them over as a nice little. Grief. Even a helping of them is probably like 7,000 calories, but I don't care. They're so wonderful. And then the next day we go a little more. My wife's family is very Norwegian, and so they do they do the turkey and the ham and all that stuff, but then they do meatballs. Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing
that
meatballs.
sounds right.
And so it's just like that weekend. Well, and then of course, other than that, we have just the Christmas with my in-laws, and my wife's mother cannot help herself. She has to cook.
Yep.
And so the whole weekend, it's 3 a days minimum.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. So yes, I would like to lose a couple pounds.
You're gonna load up over the holidays. All right. Well, okay. So the weight loss challenge is out there for anybody who wants to take part, even if you just want to stop the bad habits. And I'm not really necessarily sure I'm gonna drop that much weight just quitting soda. But now after 6 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever it is, I'm really glad that I did it. I don't have any inclination to, the temptation to just sneak one is over. And now I'm pretty much just drinking water and coffee, and I don't take anything in my coffee. So,
which I think, and I want you to hold me to it. I think now, I just want to try to just drink water. I'm going to try to do it. And just see how it works out for a while.
Does that mean if you cheat, I get to waterboard you?
Well, that seems a little bit extreme.
Is it? I heard it's safe.
You can. I'll tell you what. If I cheat from this moment on, and from this moment right now,
okay.
If I cheat and drink anything other than water, you are more than welcome to hit me with a board.
Wow.
So no water board, but you can hit me with a board. But not.
We'll call it the water
board. We'll stay between
between
kneecaps and shoulder.
Oh man.
So not so much here or here.
I'm totally going to call this the water board.
Okay, there you go.
The water board. I'm going to write this down. So my pencil broke.
He broke his pencil.
The water board.
So we'll move on from this, because for anybody that's listening to this for the first time, they're like, I have no idea what they're talking about, so I wish they'd move on.
And for those of you who've been listening for a month, is like,
they're the same way. They're like, I wish you'd move on. So we will.
We'll come back around to this subject a little later on.
Absolutely.
I know that because we have other things coming up that will bring this back up.
Exactly. So what's been going on with you?
I fixed my iPad.
You fixed your iPad?
Yeah, I am on my, I was on my third iPad screen. I've got little kids, and one of my little kids happens to be my youngest, has a way of tipping it off of things, and I found out this last time the reason why it broke is because the guy who fixed it the second time didn't put there's these little tiny screws, microscopic, that hold the screen in the frame, like the screen that's underneath the glass. There's the glass that lets you look into the screen and you touch the glass and all that, but the screen is held into the frame by these little microscopic screws, and he didn't put them back. And so this thing fell face down on the carpet and somehow shattered. I mean, the whole thing just...
You hear that, Apple?
Yeah.
You hearing that?
Stronger glass.
Come on, man. On the carpet? Come on.
Carpet. Mystified me until I took it apart. Now, I fixed it myself this time. I can't tell you how proud I am of myself. And it probably shouldn't be, because it really wasn't that hard.
That's all right, because it's one of those things where, you send it to get fixed, and it didn't get fixed, and then you're like, well, I'll fix it myself. And then it got fixed, so that's, hey, a little bit of pride. There's nothing wrong with that.
I feel okay with being proud about this, actually, now that you say that. Now, it costs between $80 and $160 to get it fixed by a so-called professional. And those of you guys who do this professionally, I don't mean to insult you, but the guy who fixed it for $160 did amazing. The guy who fixed it for $80 forgot to put the microscopic screws back in, and he said he used his own adhesive because he didn't like the factory stuff, but his adhesive didn't hold up, and I had this big, practically 1/4-inch gap in my screen from the glass to the frame. And then for me to fix it myself, I'm not gonna declare any prices out there, but it was a fraction of the lower price.
And you know what? Nothing personal to you, sir, who probably is not listening to this podcast. But you know what? God bless you, because that's probably the millionth one you'd fix that day, and
or maybe it's the 5th one he'd ever done, and now he's an absolute master at it. And he had to get through doing ones the way he did mine to get as good as he is.
It's all about compassion, people.
We've all been there.
Because Rob could have been like, Rob, what would have been your impression if you had no compassion?
What?
If you had no compassion for the man, and you were just irate at the fact that your iPad broke.
Waterboard.
You'd waterboard the man? See, there you go, people. With no compassion in Rob's heart, he'd just be waterboarding people left and right. Somebody cut him off in traffic, waterboard. Somebody made his sandwich at Subway wrong, waterboard.
But I've heard that this is a fairly safe thing to do, so maybe that would be somewhat compassionate. So
waterboarding being compassionate?
I don't know.
That doesn't seem compassionate. Well, I'm glad you got your iPad fixed, though.
I did. I fixed my own iPad.
Nice work, sir.
Yes. What about you? What have you been up to?
You know, it's been a wonderful and yet very stressful last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother came up to stay with my wife and I for 11 days.
Yes.
And mostly because, like I said, I'm from the great state of Indiana, and we live far away from there.
Yeah, you
do.
Yes, you do.
It's just easier to bring my grandmother up here and just have her report back in Indiana what's going on up here than it is for us to go down there. So that's what we did. And and you can probably relate to this. And if any of our relatives are listening, that's okay. There's not going to be any harshness here. But you know how it goes, like when, and this is going out to all the mothers and grandmothers out there. There's always advice. There's always,
yes.
You know, I see that you've done this. I would probably do it like this. Now, I'm not saying that you're doing it wrong. But, you know,
this happened for like 11 days.
There was a lot of that for 11 days.
Really?
And it's all good stuff.
Sure.
But it's the grandmotherly, motherly kind of, you know, not telling you what to do, but telling you what to do. And I mean, that's the worst part of it. It was actually wonderful. You know, we got to spend time. She got to spend time with my son. This is only like the third time, I think.
She got to spend time with us.
It's true. She actually, you know, I think we've said before, Rob is the youth pastor at our church.
I don't think we ever did say that before.
Did we ever say that before?
No, we never have.
Oh, well, everybody, Rob is the youth pastor at our church.
Yes, that's me.
And he's also our worship leader, and I play drums.
Yes, you do.
And that's what we do.
Yeah.
My grandmother actually came to our
rehearsal
for worship practice, and being the Hoosier that she is, she proceeded to make sure that she went around to everyone on the worship team and shook their hand and introduced herself as Benjamin's grandmother.
Yeah, a wonderful, friendly lady.
Extremely friendly lady, and it's awesome, and I love it. It does get to the point, though, where you're going around to the 1 millionth person that lives in the state, and she's introducing herself. I'm like, Grandma, really? You don't have to. I don't even know who that guy is. That guy, it's like, you know, we walk into a store or something, like she has to go up to the general manager of Target and be like, "Hi, I'm Benjamin Knight's grandmother." And I mean, it got to be a little bit, but you know what? It was great, and it's one of those things where you realize that, you know, life is extremely short, and it actually is a huge blessing to have, especially somebody that's been around for 3/4 of a century.
Yep.
Like, even though sometimes you just want to rip out here and just like, I can't take it anymore. You just take a breath and you go, you know what? It's awesome. This is awesome.
They bring a lot of wisdom into our life.
It is insanely true. But I mean, other than that, man, it's been pretty. I mean, Rob and I are recording this. If you're hearing this is actually a week late, because. Yeah. We've just been insanely busy.
We just haven't been connecting. It's like I thought we had this day worked out that we're going to do this. And, you know, we both have kids and stuff, and sometimes kids get sick, and you got to pay attention to that. And then just stuff happens. And we've got our new format. So
we've got our new format.
No, we're not recording this a week late. We just have the task of editing and producing this podcast that's actually going to push it. We're recording it on time, but we can't get it up in time. So this is a week late, but you know what though? It's going to be we're going to strive to make sure that every week we get a podcast out, and we've actually got some other things under our sleeves. We won't reveal too much, but there might be another podcast in the future. I believe there will be.
There will be another podcast in the future, and it will be featured under the Left of Center banner. We won't give you any more details on that. That will be to come, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Oh, yeah. We're all really excited about it.
The Rob and I are actually a part of it, but we are the lesser.
Yeah, we're gonna give an opportunity for all of you guys to hear from somebody who actually knows what the heck they're talking about.
Not two goofs in a studio going, you know.
No, really the most of what it is that we're doing is that we've got all this cool studio stuff, and for one, we're dying to use it. We have all these great conversations where we're like, man, we should be recording these, and that's what our podcast consists of. But we got this other guy who's going to come in here and actually have something you all can probably, you know, use in your real life.
I call him the Serminator.
Well, it kind of gives away what we're going to do.
But I won't. You know what though? We won't relieve any more than that. But I do want to actually talk about, since we are talking about doing kind of a new format.
Mm-hmm.
I think now we should go to the headlines.
We got headlines?
We have headlines.
You mean like a real show? Like
a real show. And I think we should get to them right now.
And now for the news with Ben and Rob.
So, dude,
I'm telling you. Do you like that? Do you like that we have a theme for it?
That's off the hook. We sound so pro.
we have a theme. We have a theme.
Sounds like a morning show.
It's awesome, right? I just love that you said it was off the hook.
Yes.
We have headlines, and actually, I want to talk to you about. So, how much would you be willing to pay? So, let's just say you were hungry and you're like, I want a cheeseburger.
Well, earlier today I was hungry and I did get a cheeseburger.
Dairy Queen?
No, they're closed for the season.
Oh, that's right.
Another.
I forget. We live someplace where it gets really, really cold, and so they shut down Dairy Queen in October. Isn't that nuts?
Well, I don't know. I know the lady who runs the place, and it made sense when she told me, that she was closing up for the season. Anyway, but no, and it wasn't there. It was at another place not too far. Anyway, I think I paid $4.58 or something like that
for your cheeseburger.
Yeah, that wasn't with everything. That was
just a cheeseburger.
That was just a cheeseburger. If you want the other stuff, you got to pay more. But $4.48.
So what would be your absolute ceiling price for a cheeseburger?
Are we talking about like at a tourist trap?
Like we're talking. Okay, let's say.
Are we in a tourist trap?
Let's say I just I just hit my mic for the very first time. For anybody listening for the first time, Rob consistently hits his microphone, so we're gonna try. He has a different microphone this week, so we're gonna try something different. That was my first time. What would you say? Let's say you and I took like a guy's trip, and we're just on the road, and we're like in the middle of like wherever, Ohio, California, wherever, Texas. And we're just like, I'm starving. But
we're not like in the, walking down Main Street at Universal Studios or something.
No,
where you can't get
but it's just like, I don't know if your family has this rule. My wife and I made this rule that if you go on vacation or if you go on a very special trip, no chains. Like that's
really?
that is a rule with us. Like
that's a cool
rule. Well, because then you can like go to all these, even if it's like a total dive, it's still fun. You have a story afterwards.
Oh, sure.
And so like we only do non-chain restaurants. So that's kind of what I'm saying here is like if we're going to go, if you and I go to a non-chain restaurant.
Okay. Non-tourist trap,
just some random place. Okay. What is your absolute ceiling that you're willing to spend on a burger?
For like with everything like
just the burger.
Just the burger. So if I want fries or onion rings, I'm paying more.
You're paying a la carte.
Salad, I'm paying. Really? Okay. Oh boy. Let me think. I think if it seemed like if it's really going to be off the hook, maybe $8.99. For just the burger?
So $9 is your...
Because I feel like I've gone 12.
So let's say, look, so how about $15? $15 might be your ceiling?
Boy. There is a walleye sandwich in Rochester, Minnesota, where I've spent quite a bit of time. And they have the walleye sandwich. There is $15. Does come with fries. That might, that sounds a bit steep, but if I'm in Rochester, I'm going there and I'm getting
that. 15
I guess if it's really, yeah.
See, I spent $19 once on a burger.
On a burger?
And it was a pretty phenomenal burger.
Okay.
And it was I couldn't even tell you the name of the place now because I don't remember it.
Where was it?
Where was that? I think it was in Indiana.
Okay.
I think. I'm trying to remember, but I don't remember. Well, let's put it this way. Would you spend $1,768 on a burger?
$1,700. I wouldn't spend that on a guitar.
Isn't that amazing? It for anybody that's wondering, the Glamburger. That's right, the Glamburger. So this must be like a burger that comes from an 80s rock band or something.
Okay.
But it is literally $1,768, and it's actually...
Is it because like they have proof that this was on David Lee Roth's plate once upon a time or something?
No, that's totally just made up.
Really?
But it is the head chef at Honky Tonk in London. Honky Tonk, which is a weird name from somewhere in London.
Yeah.
Because that just sounds weird to me. Right, You want to go have
a honky tonk?
I want to go and get myself a cheeseburger, and I'd like to go to honky tonk.
Those of you who listen to us from Great Britain, and there are those of you who listen to us from Great Britain, tell us if you've ever heard of this place.
Because I'm curious. Because it just sounds weird.
Honky tonk in London.
I love the way people from England talk because it's amazing, and they have different words for things. I was going to go ahead and I was going to take the tube over there, and then when I got to my apartment building, I took the lift, and
they don't call it an apartment building; they call it a flat.
They call it a flat, exactly. So see, I already screwed it up. The loo.
Oh,
I had to use the loo.
I do have to say, I was in southeastern Florida. I think I was in Miami actually. I was in Miami, and I went to a place for breakfast, and it was called the Western Grill, and I thought. And they had the cowboy thing on the outside, and I couldn't be any further away from the West, as in what
But was it actually
Western.
But was it actually Western food?
I don't know. It's probably no more than you get at Applebee's or something when it came to burgers and steaks and things like that. But I just did kind of get a kick out of it that I am probably geographically in the continental United States. I couldn't be any further from the West.
See, that's why it's weird because there's actually a Mexican food place here, or not here, right where we're sitting, but in an
our
hour
general
away, general vicinity, called Me Mexico, and actually that is some of the best Mexican food I've ever had. And you talk to some of the people that work there, and you talk to other people that go in there, and they're just like, this is weird because it's actually pretty authentic.
Yeah,
and it's weird since Texas is thousands of miles away,
it's very far,
Mexico. More like it, but you start getting to Tex, you get the Tex-Mex, and it's starting to get a little bit more authentic.
Well, I went to a Mexican restaurant several weeks ago, and it was in north central Washington, right along the United States-Canadian border, but it was an awesome. I don't know what Mexican. I've never been to Mexico, so I don't know what's authentic, but it was. The guy who owned it, he came around to our table, and he actually, he's the owner. He's actually the maitre d' and all that stuff, and he is actually from Mexico. You can tell. So I don't know, but should I assume that the guy in Miami was from the West? He's actual cowboy, or the dude in London is an actual. What is a honky tonk anyway?
What?
Elvis something or other.
Honky tonk. When I think honky tonks, I think a
Jerry Lee Lewis.
No, I think more just like a country western bar.
Honky tonk. I thought that was like a rock and roll thing.
Honky tonk. No, honky tonk would be because honky tonk. I think Hank Williams and
Hank.
That's when I think honky tonk. Honky tonk. It sounds like that should be where Patrick Swayze should be beating guys up in a bar. Honky tonk.
You keep talking. I'm going to look this up.
I'm going to do that.
What does honky tonk mean?
But the chef there, Chris Large is his name, and he came up with this idea, and it's it's incredible because the Guinness Book of World Records lists several different burgers. There's one that's $295. There's actually the largest commercially available burger weighs 777 pounds and costs $5,000.
It's commercially available?
It's commercially available, meaning that they will make you that burger. If you give them a cool $5,000, they will make you a 777 pound burger.
That's
pretty insane.
That slaughters half your.
That's like a half a car, is what it is. But apparently it does not hold a candle to the Glamburger at all.
Well, what is the Glam? Is it
the
huge,
Glamburger?
Or is it just really good?
I'm going to tell you, sir.
Okay.
And you're not going to be ready for this. All right, so it's got Iranian saffron.
Oh.
Saffron being, of course,
a spice.
A spice. Beluga caviar. White truffle. I'm not familiar with this. Matcha tea. I'm not familiar. Canadian.
I'm the whitest white guy. I don't know what that is.
There you go. Canadian lobster. I didn't even know that lobster was a big deal in Canada.
So as you're going from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and you're traveling north along the coast of Maine, and you're catching lobsters left and right, you cross into Canadian waters,
really?
And the lobster you catch there, now that is an exquisite lobster. Is that what they're trying to tell us?
That's what they're trying to tell us.
Because 5 miles back there, I caught another lobster. It ain't near as good.
And it just keeps going too, because there's gold leaf, and it's literally gold leaf.
Yeah.
black truffle brie. Brie being, of course, a rather, snooty cheese.
Yeah, I've had it, but
now see, here's where it kind of gets a little weird for me. New Zealand venison.
okay.
Now, venison, of course, just being deer.
Yeah.
I mean, deer is, I've had lots of deer. I'm sure you've had deer.
Yeah.
I mean, venison's venison to me.
I'm not a hunter, but people share.
Yeah, so that's a little weird to me. Kobe beef.
Okay.
And then, I mean, I think for the most part,
It's got to be the caviar or something. In there
that's pretty much it. That's the whole burger. But I'm just kind of beside myself because I don't.
$1,700.
Yeah, I mean, $1,700.
It's a house payment.
Oh, that's a big house payment. I mean, that's a really big house payment. I mean,
Sure.
for me, I guess. But I'm beside myself because I'm like, look, lobster, caviar, venison, and then there's also a duck egg involved, which
Okay.
it's just a duck egg. I mean,
Duck egg.
it's funny because I was talking to my wife about this earlier. I don't understand delicacies. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. I mean, snails.
Sure.
Delicacy. Haggis.
Haggis?
Haggis is a Scottish. It's just I don't even understand it. Like it is a delicacy. It is literally like a sheep's stomach, just crammed with stuff in it, and it just looks disgusting.
What about peanut butter M&Ms?
Peanut butter M&Ms.
Is that a delicacy?
That is not a delicacy.
I enjoy them.
Once upon a time I was actually not even peanut M&Ms, the peanut butter M&Ms. Did you say peanut butter M&Ms?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a large fan of those. Actually, but more than that, well, I suppose they probably
we stopped the getting large thing with our weight loss. challenge, so.
and I've actually Reese's Pieces was like,
oh yeah,
that was.
I'm with you. Although when they added the little chocolate layer and put the M&M sugar coated wrapping on it, that's.
But we actually do have some. We do have some. Well, I mean, we have more than just some. We have quite a few listeners that are across the pond. So, please tell us more about this thing.
Like Glamburger.
I want to know more about it, and I don't know.
Here's my last question about it: does it come with fries, or is it a la carte?
I have to guess. It doesn't say. I have to guess it's a la carte. I mean, I can't imagine. Although, in all honesty, for $1,700, you should get fries, unlimited soda, or whatever it is that you drink, or whatever you want to drink. I mean, unless it's like, yeah, I'll have like unlimited Cristal, my friend. No, that probably won't happen. But it's like, I just can't imagine. Like, I mean, you should get that. You should get free ice cream for life. Mm-hmm. You should but I'm sure
get the T-shirt.
You should get a T-shirt. Like, I bought the Glamburger,
and all I got was a stupid T-shirt.
And it's like a picture of the burger with like 80s hair and like spandex pants that are all ripped and stuff.
A picture with David Lee Roth.
There you go. David Lee Roth should be there in a glass case and he just steps out occasionally to take a picture with you if you buy that burger.
Okay.
No, that's right. He should serve you that burger.
Was he in glam rock though? I got to take it all back. He wasn't a glam rock singer.
You know what? When I think 80s anything, I like that just seems glammy.
Fits. Okay.
It's all glammy in a way. But I don't know, man. That is an expensive burger. I don't know if I could do it.
Oh, well, lastly, along the subject line, I did find out what honky tonk is, and it's more along your description than mine. Here's
So you actually just looked. You didn't look up the actual place. You looked up the phrase honky tonk. You want to know what that means?
A honky tonk, not the honky tonk. A hockey tonk. I don't wear hockey pants.
I'm not wearing hockey pants.
I'm not wearing hockey pants. A honky tonk is a type of bar that provides country music for entertainment to its patrons.
Wow, dude, I was all over that.
Totally on. I had never heard that.
That was and honestly, that was just a guess because like I've actually seen places called the honky tonk or honky tonks or whatever.
Yeah,
so that was just a guess.
I guess I had no idea what it was. I knew it had something to do with music, but I thought it was a description of a certain type of music, and I'm wrong. It's a description of a.
Well, I would still think that's a type of.
It's a type of venue. It's what it is.
Well, I'd go either way.
Okay,
but I do want to continue. I got another story here.
Another news story.
I got another news story that kind of has to do with
food. Should we play that
food?
cool headline theme one more time? Let's just play.
No, you're just fine. You want to hear it one more time?
Yeah, let's do it one more time.
All right, here it is. All right, we played it one more time for Rob.
Thank you.
He's so easily entertained. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that again. So I hope you enjoyed that.
I did.
All right, but this kind of has to do with food, kind of, because it's not really food at all. But Rob, have you ever had a Red Bull?
I actually have not. I've never had a Red Bull.
You've never had a Red Bull?
Uh-uh.
Back in the day, and I'm not really old enough to say back in the day, but back in the day, I did the whole touring musician thing, the rock star life, if you will. And we actually were endorsed by Red Bull.
You were?
We were. And
why did I not know that?
I don't. Did you ever ask?
Well, how?
I'm just saying.
Dude, were you ever endorsed by Red Bull?
That's, you know what?
I knew you had.
You should just assume that you should walk up to anybody and just go, were you ever endorsed by Red Bull?
No, I knew you had endorsements with your band, but you never said Red Bull.
We were endorsed by Red Bull.
Cool.
And so we would have a representative every now and then show up at a show and drop off a couple cases. Wow. And I would just drink the stuff like water. And I mean, I'm sure this stuff is just so bad for you. But if you do enjoy Red Bull, here's a little something for you. And if you've been drinking it any time since 2002, you know, you could probably get $10 and some free Red Bull.
How?
Well, it's another one of those frivolous lawsuits. And it was the person, and I don't have it all here. I'm just, because I just thought this was ridiculous. But somebody is suing basically because of the slogan that Red Bull gives you wings, and the claims that, you know, it basically increases your reaction speed, your performance, and your concentration. Because that's kind of the big thing, you know. It's like, it's got guarana and taurine, and it's like, I don't even know what those are anyway.
Like bat droppings.
That's guano.
Oh,
but it's very, very similar.
Sounds very exotic.
That's what I thought too. I was like, guarana.
Guarana.
They're putting, bat poop
sure
in.
Just not pronunciating it.
No, I'm sure. Right. I am quite sure. Right. But I'm just saying. But Red Bull. It looks like they're going to be paying out more than $13 million.
What? Just because some dude doesn't have wings now?
I am telling you, dude, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And the weirdest thing is not only are they getting money, but it looks like people are literally getting free Red Bull. So not only are they getting money, but if you are a part of this ridiculous lawsuit, I mean, they're literally giving you money and free Red Bull. So, I mean, if you're looking for that sort of thing, I don't like those, because I get stuff in the mail all the time where it's just like, hey, you used to work here, or you bought something from here once.
How do you prove? I mean, you have to prove that you had Red Bull?
I don't even think you need to. I don't even think you need to prove. It's not like, all right, you need to send in a urine sample, a blood sample, and a hair sample, and then we will give you $10 from
2003,
2002, and then we will make sure that you get your free Red Bull and $10.
That's starting to be a long time ago. I don't know if I have samples of anything from back then.
It's
biological. It's no.
And the thing is, it's weird because with energy drinks, I don't fully get it, because I don't know if it's just that the older I get, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect me. Although my father-in-law would disagree. We were moving from one place to another to where we currently live, and my father-in-law and I had to go down and finish getting the rest of our furniture that we couldn't fit in, and I was exhausted. We'd worked all day, and then we drove 4 hours to get where we were to get the stuff, and then we still had to load it and then drive back. And so, you know, I knew we weren't going to get home until 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. And so I thought, well, we were in the gas station on the way there, and I saw the little 5-hour energy thing sitting there. And I was like, you know what? I've never had one. Let's see if it works. I bought 2 of them. And I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. Well,
oh boy.
And so I waited until we left Fargo, and I guess I didn't say that, but we moved from Fargo. Yes, Fargo. And on the way home, I was starting to get really tired, and I could see he was clearly getting tired because he was kind of swerving all over the road, and I was like, oh boy. So I popped the cap off the suckers and just downed them.
Both of them?
And I'm thankful that I'm still alive. First of all, thank you, Jesus, I'm alive. Secondly, though, it didn't wake me up at all.
Really?
At all. Huh. It was funny because my father-in-law says, he's like, you just kind of laid your head back on the seat, and then you just wouldn't shut up. So I would literally look like I was just zonked out, but I was just like, yeah, and so you know what? I really like dinosaurs, and then we should go get a burger sometime. Have I ever told you how much I love your daughter? Man, I really like driving. Is this fun? Look at the road. I like the color blue. And I just energize
something.
So it's just I was completely exhausted, but for some reason my mouth was just blah, 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 blah. And so I don't know. With all this energy drink stuff.
Well, I had 5-hour energy one time, and that was because I drove with a friend all the way across South Dakota. Well, halfway across. No, I was already on the western edge. Anyway, I drove into Montana, which is huge, to go snow skiing. And we arrived at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I hadn't slept all night, and we're going to get about 6 hours of skiing in. And I had a 5-hour energy drink, and all I know is that I made it through the day skiing, and as soon as I got back in the car, I could not keep my eyes open.
It's just because I don't even think, I'm sure the ridiculous amount of caffeine or whatever does give you like a jolt for like, 20 minutes or something.
Mine lasted 5 hours.
But then like that,
it's like right on the money.
Oh, but then just that the coming down, the crash, you know what I mean? And so it's like, I've drank, dude, I hate to say this, and I hope I'm not speaking this into existence. I feel like I've probably lost a couple years of my life, which is the amount of energy drinks that I have had in my life.
So are you going to get $10 and a Red Bull every one you drink?
I am not going to, in fact, I'm not going to be a part of it because I hate frivolous lawsuits.
Well, everybody says they do. I think even
it's ridiculous.
Most of the people who participate them hate them.
I just can't stand if it's something legit, if it's something truly legit, like let's say you go to McDonald's and you get a burger and you eat it and it almost kills you, and it's because of something.
If you got like hospital bills that pile up and it's somebody's fault,
and
that's different.
if it's something that's like somebody peed in the pickles or something and you ate the pickles on the sandwich and then you're sick, that is a fairly legitimate reason.
Yeah, that's called wrongful whatever, but frivolousness.
That makes sense to me, but not the lady that goes through the drive-through, and it's not a man or woman thing. It was a woman who went through the McDonald's drive-through window and burned her chin with a cup of coffee because she didn't realize it was going to be hot.
I think she actually spilled it into her lap.
Was it that? Because there's tons of people that did it just in that little area.
She actually had really bad burns though.
But I'm just it's coffee. Of course it's hot. But it wasn't because the McDonald's, it wasn't because the cup was, unsatisfactory. It wasn't because it was literally just because.
So it's like if she had grabbed the coffee and there was something faulty about the cup and it just, the bottom fell off of it and dumped into her lap.
That would have been that but that's hard too because it's not necessarily McDonald's fault. So it's whoever made the cup and this and that.
I think it was in there. I remember a little bit about this, and I watched this documentary about frivolous lawsuits, and one of the things was this will change your mind about everything you've heard, and it's true. There were some details about that particular case that I had never heard, like how hot they kept the coffee and how hot it was supposed to be according to their manual and everything like that. So the only question I had was, okay, let's say that somebody handed me a coffee that was at an acceptably hot temperature to me. I'm not going, oh, it's not even hot.
Acceptable, you would take a drink right out of it?
No, I agree that, yeah, this is a nicely hot cup of coffee. I like my coffee when I get it. I like it to be just hot enough to where I can't really take a good sip. I want it to sit there for about a minute or two before I can really, I don't know how hot that is, but if they handed me a cup of coffee and I can swig the thing right away, I don't know how hot that is either, but I would probably send it back. And so how does the cup of coffee heated to the temperature that I seem to like it at, if I spilled that in my lap, am I going to get burned? I don't know. And so,
well, and the thing is, if you had that cup of coffee in your car,
yeah,
and you spilled it on yourself, that's your fault, right?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone back to McDonald's.
Because look, it's not McDonald's fault that you couldn't hold on to your cup of coffee. You know what I mean? It's just not.
Yes, I might have medical bills. Yes, I might have actual really bad burns, but I probably, based on spilling my own cup of coffee in my own lap, when there's no faultiness to the cup or anything, I probably would have just done it.
Well, I'm just weirded out by it because, do people literally go up to the counter? What's up with this coffee? Huh? What's up with this coffee?
What do you mean?
It's just hot.
Hot?
It's too hot. Why is this coffee hot, man?
I'm sorry, did you order an iced coffee?
No, I ordered a cup of coffee.
So you ordered a cup of hot coffee.
This is what I'm saying to you.
You ordered a cup of hot coffee.
I ordered a cup of hot coffee. Here it is.
Why are we talking?
Because I'm telling you right now, I burned my tongue. I'm talking funny right now. I got nothing. It's
because
hot.
I didn't give you an iced coffee when you ordered a hot coffee? I don't get
That's it. I think you're going to get more of my business. I'm out of here.
Oh, no, don't sue me.
And it's just I don't know. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. So, if you've had Red Bull and you're still drinking Red Bull, knock it off. It's not going to give you wings.
I don't want to get after anybody who's. I mean, if their case can be proven to be legitimate, and I want to kind of take the position that it's not for me to say if some of these supposedly frivolous lawsuits are truly frivolous. I want to give somebody the benefit of the doubt that, all right, something happened here, but you're saying that somebody is suing, and it's a class action lawsuit, no less.
And so I'm just more like,
because they didn't get their wings.
Well, and the thing is, if I was going to sue Red Bull, I'd be like, it's because you're poisoning people.
If you were flying on Delta Airlines back in the 80s and you're a kid, they give you those wings.
Yeah, I always wanted a pair of those wings.
I got one.
Do you have a pair of wings?
They were Continental Airlines. They weren't Delta, but I got one. And so had Red Bull claim, it'll give you wings. I remember those commercials, by the way. Would that have satisfied this dude?
Not at all, sir. Not at all.
Sounds like he just wants free Red Bull.
But everybody out there, just stop drinking it anyway, because it's just horrible. It's just horrible crap.
Or at least offset it with some sort of healthy lifestyle.
Please.
If you really like it, I mean.
Yeah.
That's what my 1030 plan is all about, by the way. Is that if you really like something, you can have it. You just got to offset it with better disciplines in other areas.
Well, I don't want to do too many headlines. I do have one more. And I want you to listen to this.
I'm not going to ask to play the headline music. I'm just going to rewind the podcast. I'm going to rewind the podcast.
And listen to it again?
Yeah.
Just so you can hear it. You know what? That's awesome.
But by now, you actually could have played it. So. Sorry.
Just nothing makes you happy.
That's
nothing
not
makes
true.
You happy.
That's not true.
But this new one, now, Rob, do you ever torment your wife?
It depends on who you ask. If you ask her.
That's probably every day, 24/7, 365.
Yeah. Somebody actually, according to my wife, she told me a story just this morning how somebody voluntarily related to her how much patience she must have because of me. So I guess I probably not only torment my wife, but I probably torment many others.
So there you go. But this guy,
people.
Well, have you ever done it with Lord of the Rings quotes?
Torment with Lord of the Rings quotes?
Yes, sir.
To a certain extent, I definitely torment with quotes. Lord of the Rings quotes?
Not so much. Like if you ever went up to your wife, like, you're my precious.
We do that.
Gollum or anything, but
my boy does an awesome Gollum.
We'll have to get him in here to do the Gollum sometime.
Yeah, we really could. But it's not a habit of mine.
But this is weird to me. So I mean, for those of you who do torment your girlfriends or wives,
do it. Just torment.
Just torment. It's fun. It's
for
fun
one
to
thing,
do.
if you're not married yet, you'll find whether you can be married if you torment them before you're married.
It's true, and that's
because you will once you are.
In all honesty, once you're married, I swear it's just decades of they put up with your crap and you put up with their crap. That's a very large part of it.
That's what I think is going to happen now.
And but this is interesting to me, and I can't believe this made the Huffington Post. I am so weirded out by that. But we're going to play for you a little bit of audio here, and this is a nerdy guy who torments his girlfriend with Lord of the Rings quotes. So check this out.
Give me your name, Horsemaster, and I shall give you mine. And what if I would have went with you, right into the fires of Mount Doom. I know. I heard it from his own mouth! He means to murder us!
Oh, speaker wouldn't hurt a fly.
Is there any hope, Gandalf, for Frodo and Sam? There was never any hope. The beacons are lit! Gondor calls for aid! And Rohan will answer. Where is Gandalf? For I must desire to speak with him.
No.
He has fallen.
No, because
A new power is rising! March to Isengard. Leave none alive. And what would a ranger know? This is no ranger. He is Aragorn.
Even on holiday. Even on holiday.
You own your... They have a cave troll.
The salted pork is particularly good. Salted pork.
So let me get this straight. This is the guy. We're not listening to actual sound bites from the movie.
No, this is not sound bites. Well, clearly, but it's actually just this guy just torturing his girlfriend with Lord of the Rings quotes. But what's weird to me is I don't even know why this is news. I'm like,
yeah, that's weird news.
I mean, first of all, when did the last not the Hobbit movies? When did the last Lord of the Rings come out?
Oh, let me think. 2002?
I mean, don't get me wrong, because like
2003?
I'll quote certain movies. I'll walk around
I'll quote Lord of the Rings, sure.
Like what is one of your go-to quotes?
Well, believe it or not, it's when something really tragic happens to somebody. And my favorite Lord of the Rings quote is actually not meant to torment anybody. It's actually meant to bring encouragement. And it comes from the scene where these big ogre guys are beating down the door, and Pippin says to Gandalf, it's like, I didn't think it was going to end this way. And Gandalf says, and death is just another path, one we all must take. And he says, the gray rain curtain of this world rolls back and all turns to silver glass. And then you see it. And he says, see what? What, Gandalf? He says, white shores. And beyond that, far green country under a swift sunrise. Pippin says, that doesn't sound so bad. Gandalf says, no, it's not bad at all. So that would probably be my...
You took all the funny and you made it real. You went all real with it. All right, what is a common non-Lord of the Rings like quote from a movie from your mouth? Constantly. What is it?
Boy, I don't know.
I don't know about. I'm trying to think of one for me.
Inconceivable. I don't know.
Inconceivable.
I don't know.
He didn't fall. Inconceivable.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
No, see,
Right.
Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, Princess Bride is probably a pretty big.
Yeah, it's quotable.
That's a big quoter in our household.
Nice.
My wife is actually. Oh, this is okay. I'll share this really quick, and then we'll get into some other stuff. My wife is the worst impressionist of all time. And
well, that's why I said that earlier.
She loves. Oh, yeah, and it's actually pads, but it just worked well to say pants. But my wife likes. She loves the last two Batman movies, and
who doesn't?
Oh, they're great. So she likes to use the Batman voice, but her Batman voice doesn't sound like Christian Bale's Batman voice, and I'm not really sure what it is. But we were in our car the other day, and I told Rob about this earlier, but it's just funny because she's doing quotes from the movie, but they don't sound like Batman. They sound, and they literally sound like this. They're like, "I'm not wearing hockey pads," and that's actually way better. That's way better than her actual impression.
Awesome.
But what's really funny to me though is her Bane. Her Bane is amazing because it's like she doesn't do the. Oh yes, but I mean I can't do Bane, but I mean like it's not that old British.
Need this microphone.
It's not the British old man kind of voice he picked, which is amazing. I mean, it's just soup. I love it. Like a lot of people kind of dumped on it, but I like it. I mean,
Bane's voice.
Yeah, this big brooding dude, and like you just think he's gonna be like, "I'm gonna eat your face," and he's not. Like
sophisticated. Instead,
he's just like, maybe he's wondering why you'd shoot a man before throwing him out of a plane. I mean, he's got that weird.
Bad. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But like, so my wife.
You just need this microphone.
So my wife loves that beginning part where they're, basically tearing that plane to bits, and they're gonna, get rid of it. But it's just so bad, dude. It's so bad. So anyway,
sounds like she torments.
This is gonna be like if people don't find this funny, this is gonna be a horrible payoff. But like, she literally looked like we're just driving down the road, and for no reason, she just looks at me and she just goes, "No, they expect one of us to be in the wreckage, brother." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What is that? What is that?" And but I mean, and yeah, I'm like,
opening scenes.
Oh, and then she's
awesome.
and then of course she just looks at me and like, "I'm not wearing hockey pads." And it's the rhythm of the thing too. She's like, I'm not wearing hockey pads. I'm like, that's horrible, just horrible. But that kind of wraps up the headlines.
Oh, really?
But I do want to get into.
I can do that all day long.
You can do that all day long.
As long as I rewind back to the beginning of the
you're talking
intro.
About. You're not even talking about the actual headlines. You're talking about the song.
Am I?
I think you are. You just like the song.
I just think it's cool that we're using like theme music songs. This is awesome.
But I think we should probably. And for anybody, you know what? I'll just get right to it. We're going to dip into the mailbag. Should we dip into the mailbag?
We got a song for that too.
And it sounds a little something like this.
All the emails that you write, let's open up the mailbag and look inside.
So that's the new mailbag song.
I am into this.
So we encourage you guys, you can write into us either on our Twitter, which of course is just twitter.com/LOC podcast. You can also go to facebook.com/Left of Center Podcast. You could also just go to leftofcenterpodcast.com. We do have a little area there where you can send us a message, or you can just send us an email to mailbag at leftofcenterpodcast.com.
That's why we call it Open the Mailbag.
That's why we open the old mailbag. And we got some emails and messages.
Yeah, we did.
And so we want to talk about those. Rob, what do we got?
Well, I mean, I do have them here, but does the mailbag only have to be about questions or?
No, I mean, people, if you guys have comments or questions or just whatever, if you just want to hear, you know what, you're just one of those like, hi, my name's Kayla, and I just want to reach out to my friend Brandy and just say hi.
We'll let them do a shout out on our show.
We might even do that too.
Okay.
We might even do, you know what, maybe there might even be another segment called shout outs. Who knows?
Let's just see how this goes. Well, I mean, we do have a question. We have a couple questions, at least, that we're going to address here right now. The first one, when I read this, I thought, you know what, we might have to do a podcast show about this one specifically, because it's actually a pretty serious question. And here's the question. How do I, quote, remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy, end quote. This comes from, by the way, Josiah in Billings, Montana.
And that's actually, that's a really good question, because that seems to be one, like for me, like, I've had those moments where I start looking at the 10 Commandments and I'm just like, and if you, I mean, it starts to scare you a little bit, because you're like, oh man, am I,
yeah,
and the Sabbath one has always been a really weird one to me.
Yeah. Well, and I think we should, like, when I saw this, you know what, we're going to make this, why are we bringing it up when we're not going to make it a podcast right now? Well, maybe this is going to be one that we hit next time. He goes on to say, all I know is that I'm far from fully understanding it, and therefore it's easy to know I must not be honoring it. Like most of the 10, is it even humanly possible to honor this commandment? We are constant violators of most commandments. So he's right in the same page here, what you just said. And I do have some thoughts about that.
Well, see, my thought on it, just, and this is the general thought of it for me, like, I do not believe that remember the Sabbath means on Sunday don't do anything, like don't even consider doing any sort of work or anything other than just acknowledging the fact that this was, this is the Sabbath day.
Well, we have some listeners, I'm sure, who would consider the Sabbath day to be Saturday as well.
Exactly.
And so, just for by way of brief explanation, there is a position in Christian theology that would say that the day of the Lord actually transfers from Saturday, which was the original Sabbath, when the Lord rested from his work of creating the world. He spent 6 literal days, many say, creating everything, and then on the 7th day, the 7th literal day, he rested. And so we're told in the Old Testament to honor that day and keep it holy. And so in Christian history and Christian tradition, we've transferred the honor of that day onto Sunday.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, again, I just don't believe that. I mean, a lot of people just think that you can't do any work. You can't, it's almost like a thing that really offends them. To me, it's more just, I acknowledge that on Sunday it's a day that I go to church. We do worship. I am very aware that Sunday, though, is it is a holy day to me. It is a day that I acknowledge the fact that I believe that Jesus Christ died for my sins, and that there is a God in heaven that's just awaiting for my transition up there, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life in heaven. Like, I believe that wholeheartedly. To me, that seems like it's more of what it is. Like, it's just a day of remembrance more than a day of not, you have to make sure you don't do anything like, hey, don't prune your shrubs, don't wash your car, don't, just don't work your normal job on Sunday because, God's going to strike you down because of it.
Well, I mean, do you, being a Christian, do you hold to the idea that we're actually still talking about a literal day?
That's an excellent point, sir. That is an excellent point. Are we talking about a literal day?
Well, here, let me read a little bit. This comes from Mark chapter 2. Jesus has just started his ministry here as the way, in the way that Mark accounts for it. He says, one Sabbath, he, being Jesus, was going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain, and the Pharisees were saying to him, look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath? And he, being Jesus, he says to them, Have you never read what David did when he was in need and was hungry? He and those who were with him, how he entered the house of God in the time of Abiathar, the high priest, and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but the priests to eat. And also he gave it to those who were with him. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even over the Sabbath. Jesus seems to be talking about a literal day there when it comes to the Sabbath, but there may be a little bit. I mean, this is why I want to do a podcast on this topic once I read it, because for one, I'm sure we're going to get ourselves in trouble with some people.
Exactly.
But I'm just going to touch on it, and then we can move on, and we can let the comments and the mailbag fill up with comments, complaints, or questions.
Which we are all for.
Fine. That's fine. And there's another podcast coming up for all of you who have questions like this. Will probably be more adequately or thoroughly answered there. Maybe this is a good one to kick that